Good afternoon, Pranam, Namaste, and Vanakkam, everyone. Welcome to the next session, Tales for Tomorrow Children's Literature. This session is a discussion about stories that can travel into the ears of the next generation, stories that inspire curiosity, wonder, and courage, stories that travels across time, carrying lessons from the past into the imaginations of tomorrow's readers. And to get the best out of this session, we get to meet two storytellers and thinkers who have spent decades bringing myths, legends, and life lessons alive, not just for adults but especially for children. Each in their own way, they have shown us how stories can teach, transform, and nurture. Our first guest for this session is Miss Sunita Pant Bansal. Sunita ji is a celebrated mythologist and storyteller whose work spans over 4 decades. She has excelled as a writer, editor, publisher, and entrepreneur, authoring 50 books for adults and young readers, and countless children's books on mythology and folk literature, and has translated and cherished across the world. She is a former president of the Institute of Indology and has collaborated with global giants like Walt Disney, Warner Bros., Pearson, and major Indian media houses. Her best-selling works including Everyday Gita, reinterpreted timeless epics, blending mythology with history to speak to modern audiences. Her achievements have earned her recognition such as the ALF Women Achievers Award and the Vagishwari Samman. Welcome Sunita ji. We are so delighted to have you with us today. And our next guest is Vanita Chaudhary Shah. Vanita ma'am is a storyteller, poet, life coach, and NLP master practitioner who has spent decades empowering individuals to break free from limiting beliefs, awaken creativity, and discover their higher purpose. Her work goes beyond classrooms, as she has created spaces of authenticity, courage, and transformation, inspiring people to live fully and shine unapologetically. Through the power of storytelling and coaching, Vanita ma'am nurtures imagination, self-discovery, and meaningful growth. Welcome Vanita ma'am. It's wonderful to have you with us. Now let's listen closely to the magic of storytelling.
Thank you. And yeah, warm welcome. It is nearly evening. Thank you for occupying these seats here. I wish there were more children, but we will begin. And I'm sure the tales are going to be carried forward. And Sunita ji is, she does not need any introduction, and whatever she needed, Megh Varnan did that. And as you all got to know that she has been writing books for children, and she has worn many hats over the years. A writer, an author, then editor, working with huge publishing giants, starting her own. And today she is here to share some stories from her life and enriching us with them. Start by asking you write about mythology. You are a homegrown mythologist, if I can say that. If anyone or maybe all the characters from the mythologies that you have reinterpreted were living in these times and ages, how would they react or respond? How would it be different?
This is by far the strangest question I've been asked ever in my life. So I'm trying to figure out the answer for this.
We'll wait, don't worry.
You see, my favorite mythological character would be Krishna. And I'm saying so, why? Because of Krishna I've been successful. I mean, because some of the books have been very successful. So it's thanks to Krishna that I was able to interpret him in a way that was, read the people. So that's how he's become my favorite. But honestly, my favorite had been Shiv, because Almora, and the kind of background I'm from. And me and my brother, we pride ourselves as, being Shiva's descendants, isn't it? So it's one of those things, that I would collect little pebbles and treat them as shivlings. I still have them. And my daughter is pretty much, I think she's inherited this. She's in Sydney and she's asked me to get a shivling for her. So she was in fact saying कि नानी के पास अगर कोई पड़ा होगा नानी की पूजा में तो ले आना. So this is how, I mean, that's my personal favorite. My husband calls Shiva my friend. So whenever we go to any temples and there's a shivling, he says, अपने दोस्त से पहले मिला, then we'll go to the other ones. So that's how it is. But if they had been around, that's the question. That's the tricky part of your question. Honestly, I wouldn't know, but I think Krishna is around everywhere in so many people. I don't see Shiv, but I see Krishna, yes. I've met a whole number of Krishnas in my life, my work life. So Krishnas are there. But I don't think I would see any other god around. No.
Yeah, apart from, again, as this amazing, enriching session that we just had preceding hours, they're around in different forms and different energy.
No, that's a very philosophical way of
same
responding to your own question.
No, but how
but
would
I would say that Krishnas, actually you can identify them.
How would they be responding to the current times? That was what...
They probably would be laughing, because this is what they have created. And to see what they've created, it's a game, that's being played here. So they'll probably be laughing at how the players are behaving. It's like watching a match. They would be watching the match and then, generally laughing. कि इसने कितने रन बनाए, out हो गया, फलाना ठिकाना, things like that. वही तो करें, उन्होंने तो रचा है ना, तो वो देख के हंसने रहे होंगे. बहुत हंस रहे होंगे वो.
बिल्कुल हंस रहे और मुझे
हो सकता है bet लग रही हो आपस में. This is how it. I'm sure it is like this.
I'm sure, and this is taking me back to a conversation that I had with my son when he was all of 3 years old, and this is what exactly he had told me. He says, God's having a great time. We are all. He was into cartoons at that point of time, at that time, and he said we are their cartoon show. So they're watching we are the cartoons in their life. So yes,
so I prefer to simplify. I don't philosophize. That's why I'm putting you back to simplification.
Philosophy. To each one. The way they want to look at things. Because yes, as humans and as trees and plants, we all grow differently and we think differently. Thank you. So moving to maybe the core questions of of how you started your storytelling journey, and why only the writing about mythology. If you can combine both of them, that'll be really nice.
You're basically asking about my story.
Yes, right? About your story.
When did I start? I started writing when I was a kid. I was in school, class 2, 8, 7. I started writing poetry because that came easy to me. So it was like simple rhyming, because that's what one understood of poetry at that time, rhyme. So that was easy. I started writing like that. But otherwise, actual writing began when I was about 20. And that also was something to do with what I had studied, and I was kind of taking it all out, simplifying it and giving it to people. And that was my own subject of nutrition. So writing was like that, and that was the commercial aspect of writing. But swiftly moving to the kind of writing that I'm doing now, especially for children, especially mythology, it started when, I was running this company called Frank Brothers when I was CEO of that company. And that was the time I was at a position of a decision maker. So I could kind of think of bringing about a change. And I had this very, kind of very ambitious thought, because I used to think that, when I was a child, we were given gifts, of books like Cinderellas and stuff. And decades later, my daughters are getting the same, my daughter, L1, she was getting the same books. And that kind of made me feel that, are we bankrupt in terms of stories from our own scriptures, from our own folklore? Have we really gone bankrupt? Why is it that parents are still buying those books for their children? So that's when I took it on, as a challenge for myself. And I said, okay, let me start creating stories, Indian stories for the Indian parents, and, get rid of this Western classics. And I think I succeeded in that, because after that there were a whole crop of Indian writers who came up, writing Indian stories about Indian characters for the Indian market. So that was the beginning, you know. I took it on myself as a challenge to get these stories out for the parents.
Thank you, and this brings me to my next question, because yes, you are responsible for interpreting the mythologies of for the generations which are, I mean, living and yet to come. So, what makes these myths everlasting? How are they relevant for all the generations? I mean, you started writing some 25 years, 30 years ago, and then you are reinterpreting them. And how do you think they still resonate? What is it? What is that power in these
It's
stories?
the relatability. It's the relatability, because you see, this is something which I have learned from my dadi, and I would call her Ija. And I was very young, like even she passed away when I was 7. But those years were very precious, because she would, she was a storyteller. So she would tell me stories even to make me eat. I was a fussy eater. So she would tell me stories even just to put food into my mouth. So, and she would be doing puja every day. And she would be bathing the gods and changing their bedding and so on and so forth. And she would be telling me stories about all those little idols that she had. And all of them they had names like Krishna and Ganesh and so on and so forth. It was never any Bhagwan, right? So for me, they were all an extended family. For me, they were all like friends. They were all family. I was never scared of them. And that made them extremely relatable. So, there were stories of Parvati getting upset with her husband, going to her Maika and so on. So they were very, very human, very relatable. So I think that's the reason why, they're still around, because we can relate to them. If we, think that they are not gods and they are like us, we have to relate to them only because, when we kind of literally see them as fellow human beings, let me put it that way, or as family. But if you put them on a pedestal and take them and make a temple, then we'll be so busy worshipping them, then we won't be able to even learn anything from them. Then we'll be just kind of stuck with the worshipping part, the rituals part.
Yeah, this is very, very important, I mean, we gave them human qualities, those human attributes which made them...
That's why these stories were written,
Yeah.
essentially to explain to people how to lead their lives.
Yes.
They were examples.
You mentioned Ija, your dadi, and this brings me to this, again, a very, very important point, or the role that women have played. And you have tried bringing out, whether I should say importance or the value of how women have played their roles, when you write about Gautam Buddha's wife, and can you explain to us the perspective of a woman and how it is important for the humanity and also for the younger generation?
You see, I have not done anything deliberately, in the sense that I have not thought so much about it while I was doing all this. It is something you learn as you live life. I have seen my mother, the strength that she had, I mean, I was working, so my strength could be seen there. But she was at home, looking after us. That is the strength, and that's what you see in Buddha's wife, Yashodhara. Now, when you read Buddha's story, you read about him and whatever he did and the sacrifice, etc. And it's called sacrifice because he left home. How is it that when the wife is left alone and she's functioning as a single mother, how is that not a sacrifice, So these are things which kind of I saw, and I thought that considering that there's not much material about it, maybe I should do the writing part, So I dug around, found the stories, whatever little I could find, and then of course, mapped my story on the historical facts.
You brought up...
And in that book, by the way, I have not said, I have not made Buddha any lesser. He still remains what he is. But I am just kind of shifting the spotlight onto the wife to show that, look, here is this woman who stayed back and did exactly the same thing. She became a Buddha also while staying at home, looking after a kid, and the in-laws and the household, the rest of it.
And I think when you talk about relevance in today's time and age of solo parenting,
Yeah.
and sometimes, I mean, I feel the responsibility is still majorly on the mother. Times have changed. We did mention yoga dharma, but the expectation from the woman, the mother, remain the same. She's managing the outside world. She's going to work because that's how. That's a discussion for some time later, the masculine and the feminine energy. But she's going out to work, she's tending to home chores, and still responsible for nurturing, if I can say. The
She's a
children.
nurturer, no?
Yes,
She's a
a
nurturer.
nurturer.
She gives birth, she's a nurturer, she's nature.
But do you
You
think
can't change the nature of nature, can you? So it's something like that. You have to accept it. And the only thing is that once you spotlight certain areas, then people start paying attention to that. And maybe they would respect all that, which is probably being ignored. This is not seen. Women are working also, looking after their families also. It's not seen because it's kind of, taken for granted. So if writers can write about these people and just point the light in that direction, then that area would get more respect.
And I'm sure more people are going to read and learn from that. And when we talked about working outside, from, going out into the corporate world, into the world of management, and talking about the feminine and the masculine energy, you have written Gita. You have, in fact, your perspective on Gita and how Gita can be used in today's time and age, in the world of management, in the world of, in the corporate world. I'm sure people sitting here would love to hear your.
Actually, I have spoken a lot about it, and I find Gita to be extremely simple. I think that it's just stuff about impermanence, understanding that, and it's about the law of karma. And essentially, Hinduism can be probably reduced to, according to me, my simplistic way of thinking, into one line that you reap what you sow. So this is a very simple statement that we learned in school also, studied from Christian school. You reap what you sow. It's so simple, isn't it? That's the law of karma. So the entire thing is based on that. And then, of course, Gita talks about impermanence. So, if you take these two things and start explaining, then everything can be explained using these two. So when I wrote Krishna, the Management Guru, I was not talking about corporate only. I was talking about managing life. I was not only talking about managing a company. But because the principles remain the same. You do financial management, you do time management, you do relationship management. There's a whole lot of management that happens at home, So that book is basically about managing life. And Gita also tells you about how to manage life. So taking anecdotes from Krishna's life, I'm explaining various issues that we kind of get trapped in. And how Krishna got out of them. And that is kind of translated into how we can understand that and probably imbibe it and follow. So I'm trying to, rope in anecdotes from Krishna's life, from the Gita, because Gita doesn't really have anecdotes, it has all philosophy. But I'm trying to add a few anecdotes from mythology to explain Gita, like Gita for the young
Can
minds.
you give maybe an example? That'll be really nice.
Pick up the book then.
I will do that.
Because Gita for young minds is essentially, trying to explain Gita through other stories, So, and this is how, I'm kind of mixing Gita with the rest of the mythology. The idea is essentially to explain Gita in any which way. And I don't think there is any rule for it, that you cannot use other stories. So, let me see. Pick and choose anything actually. There is,
People in the audience can take this time to mull over any questions that are coming into your space, and we'll take them up once we are done with this session.
there is I'm trying to find the simplest story and creator. So now I have explained this through a story, and this story is, I believe, from the Upanishads. I don't know how this came out here. Can I read it out? So there's an interesting fable to show how we forget to use our free will and get fooled by our material body. So this is about a pregnant tigress who was attacking a flock of sheep. Unfortunately, at that very moment, she gave birth to a cub and died. The sheep took the cub with them and looked after him. Now this cub had never seen any animal other than the sheep he grew up with. So he behaved like them. He ate grass like them and even bleated like them. So one day another tiger attacked this flock of sheep, and as they were running away to save their lives, the tiger was shocked to see a young grass-eating tiger cub running with them. So instead of grabbing sheep, the attacking tiger caught hold of the cub. He was further surprised to see the young cub bleating like a sheep, looking scared. He dragged the cub to a river and made him see his reflection. The tiger said to the cub, "Look at your face, it's like mine." Then he gave the cub some meat to eat. The scared cub stopped bleating and tried eating the meat. The tiger waited patiently, watching the grass-eating cub transform into what he actually was, a carnivorous animal. He said, "You are the same as me, come, let's go back to the forest." So this is how our soul, this is how I'm explaining this, that this is how our soul gets affected by its environment, which is our body, and starts to identify with it. We need to understand that we are not the body, but the soul, and the soul is a part of the super soul. The understanding that we, as a soul, should not be fooled by our body, and that we should be following the super soul is true knowledge, according to Krishna. So this is how I explain this through another story.
Yeah, it makes it simpler for the young
Yes.
readers to
Yes.
understand and relate to it. And this brings me to my next question, where when you say mythology again, because as I said, you are a homegrown mythologist. Mythology is a mirror. You always say that mythology is basically mirroring human experience. So, in your view, I mean, how are new myths being created? Do you see any possibilities of new myths being created?
No, I don't think so, because you see, a film producer friend of mine once said that the only story in the world is that of Ramayana. Because when you look at the storyline, you can make so many, versions of it. So I feel that this is the beauty of mythology, the stories that we have, that you can, reinterpret in so many ways. You can reinvent them. The plot line remains the same. You see Mahabharata, the warring cousins, property feuds. You see, the plot line remains the same. So actually, the original stories are out there already. We are just kind of taking them up and using those plots and weaving our own stories to explain whatever we want to say to our readers. But the plots are there, already existing. We cannot create any new myths. I don't think so.
Only the context changes. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
So this question again, I remember now. It was not. I was not going to ask you, but one of my sessions with young learners. So they wanted to know if Harry Potter could be an epic in the years to come. Now those years I really do not know, but yeah.
But,
so if I could just put this question.
No, but this is something very interesting, because I'm actually working on a plot. And because again, as I took on the challenge of fighting the Western classical stories for children, this is a challenge that I've taken to fight Harry Potter. So I'm working on a trilogy.
So this was I just downloaded this question.
You did. I mean, really, you did, because I'm working on a trilogy. I'm hoping to wrap it up in about 2 years' time, and that's going to be, based on my favorite god, and purely from Hindu mythology, but the presentation is going to be like Harry Potter. Because you see, the stories are the same, the plots are the same. It's the presentation. So I'm going to give it my presentation, the Indian presentation.
Thank you. I mean, my mother would be, I mean, she'll be very happy because I remember one day she was watching, I mean, along with my son, and she said, "ये सब हमारे रामायण और महाभारत से लेके," and now because they've packaged it well and they have better quality cinema and technology, you're going to be glued to the screens and that's it. ये हमारे वहाँ से, it's like they've taken it away from us. And my son had his discussion with his nani. That's a different story. But yeah, thank you, and I'm sure we'll all look forward to.
There's a smaller version, a book on weapons and wars that I'm working for Scholastic. Now we have all the possible magical weapons, the cosmic weapons. So when I'll give you the stories about those weapons and the people, the warriors who've used, then it'll be pretty much like Harry Potter, all magic.
I am looking forward
It's
to it,
homegrown.
and it's been beautiful. The session before this, Rumola ji and Professor Shastri ji, and before that, Mrs. Kak, and when she talked about how Kumaon has not celebrated the indigenous, the native culture or craft, somewhere I feel it has been in our DNA as a country. Because we were plundered and we were looted, over the years, that our DNA learned only to crouch, and just hide itself. And I'm really blessed and grateful that we are in this particular timeline currently, that we have got that courage to peel off the layers of shame and feeling not enough, all those limiting beliefs that were forced down upon us actually, and thank you for playing your part in that. So now, I know we'll be moving closer to the end of the session.
And also it's getting colder.
Yeah, it is. So I'm not going to keep you in the cold for a long time. This is one question which I very, very feel deeply about. The way we have the age of Kali, we have the age of AI. And I really do not know whether I need to frame a question and ask her, but you can see it. The evidences are there. We just need to be reading carefully and observing carefully. AI, Chat GPT, everything is out there. No, yesterday Anup Shah ji also mentioned, इतनी वो 100 शॉट्स के बाद उनको एक शॉट मिला और अभी तो आप AI से वो क्रिएट कर देते हैं,
क्रिएट कर देते हैं,
क्या होगा, व्हाट विल हैपन आने वाले टाइम में? AI, चैट जीपीटी और जो भी है, जितने भी AI डिजिटल हमारा जो हम बॉम्बार्ड कर रहे हैं हमको, हमारी क्रिएटिविटी और हमारे आने वाले, यहाँ पे मैं एक और चीज़ बोलना चाहूँगी. हम बात करते हैं न्यूरल कनेक्शंस की, हम कहते हैं नए न्यूरल पाथवेज बनाने की क्षमता हम में है. तो क्या ये जो नया AI आ रहा है, ये हमारे न्यूरल पाथवेज बनाएगा? ऑफ कोर्स एक नए स्किल सीखने में, पर वो बाटा कैसा रहेगा? एक न्यूरल पाथवे बनाने के बदले मुझे लगता है बहुत सारे 100 पाथवेज हमारे डिफ्यूज खत्म हो जाएंगे.
The thing is, people have a tendency to get scared, I feel, because I think that creativity will never die. How can it? It's not possible for it to die.
That's very positive and reassuring.
No, it won't. You see, okay, you can try it out. If you ask AI to give you basic story of, say, Ramayana, it'll give you wrong facts. It doesn't have the right facts. I've done this experiment because these questions keep coming to me. I've done this experiment and I've seen the stories are factually wrong. So AI cannot create anything for you, but what it can do, what you can use it for is to improve on whatever you've written. For instance, you write a story, you have your own research, you have your own thoughts, you have your own creativity, you create a story. It can polish it for you. That's about all. It's a good editor. But I firmly believe that it can never replace creativity, because what you write is from your heart. You see, there's a warmth in it, there's a soul that is in it. Anything that is created, generated by any machine, any writer can read it and say, this doesn't have soul.
I want to come from a space of hope. and a lot
I'm
of
extremely
wisdom.
hopeful.
But at the same time, generations which are going to feed on products created by AI. I mean, I know for years, maybe in the years to come, that is where I feel कि वो जो हम कंज्यूम करेंगे वो हमारा आउटपुट भी वही होगा. पर आपकी बात को मैं मान लेती हूँ कि अभी शायद बहुत बरस लगेंगे वो चीज़ होने में. At least we will be done and dusted by that time. And
No, I'm a writer, so I feel that my job is not threatened because I am writing from my own heart, and nobody can replace that. My books will continue to sell. I'm happy about that, in that knowledge. So I don't feel threatened, but I feel that yes, AI probably can be used to, improve on your presentation skills. That's about all. I do not believe that AI will give you, anything creative. I mean, even the covers, book covers, if you see, if they are generated by AI, anybody can spot. Anybody.
And I think this is the ray of hope, I think, that we are all looking.
पर जैसे डुप्लीकेट्स पे तो मिलते हैं ना मार्केट में, तो ऐसे बहुत सारी चीज़ें एआई से जनरेट होंगी, बिकेंगी, किताबें बनेंगी, लिखेंगे लोग, किताबों का डिज़ाइन होगा, कवर्स बनेंगे, सब कुछ होगा एआई से होगा. वो उनकी भी एक अलग मार्केट है ना, उन्होंने भी तो पैसे कमाने हैं, उन्होंने भी घर चलाना है. सो दैट्स फाइन.
नहीं, मेरे को है कि कंजम्पशन, पर मुझे लगता है कि जो भी
it's up to you to decide now what you're consuming.
Completely.
I mean, it's in your hand.
And people like you, authors like you, will leave behind manuscripts which will be founded on authenticity and truth. तो सबका अपना अपना truth है, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure. So beyond the AI, there will be books and manuscripts that people, generations who will be curious enough to know
also,
more.
I was telling another person who had asked me the same question, that when we write from our heart, writers write from their hearts. वो हार्ट से लिख के हार्ट को टच करता है, तो वो किताब बिकती है या आगे चलती है. AI जो है वो दिमाग से कर रहा है ना, वो इट्स लाइक यू कैन से दैट वो दिमाग वो नहीं हार्ट को टच करेगा आपके. सो इट फेल्स. According to me, it fails.
Yeah, that's machine intelligence. I mean,
it's machine. So वो दिल से नहीं लिखा, तो आपके दिल तक नहीं पहुंच सकती ना, वो छू नहीं सकता आपके दिल को. कुछ भी AI generated होगा.
Thank you. I mean, that is very, very, as I said, it's very, very positive note to end this conversation. One more question, which maybe you answered it in some way when you talked about the series that is going to come up. So, if you could, there is one tale or more than one tale that you would want the future generations to continue to read, and which you would like to, or you have already created, or which you are in the process of creating.
That's exactly what I'm working on. That's a work. I can give you another hint. That's Bhagavad. So I'm converting that into Harry Potter. I mean, wish me luck. Keeping my fingers
Also
crossed.
best, because people like you are the bridges. That's what I was talking to Umesh Kabirji in the morning. That I think we can take pride in that. Realization, though my son says it's highly overrated, but I said, we that generation where you're going to bridge, we're going to be the bridge between two different timelines altogether, and thanks to people like you and
ऐसी बातें हमको यहाँ के पता चलती हैं. जब हम लिख रहे होते हैं तो हम ये नहीं सोचते हम ब्रिज हैं कि हम क्या हैं, हम लिख रहे होते हैं.
बताना भी वो acknowledgement बहुत जरूरी है.
Come to a fest and somebody tells you you're a bridge, then you say, oh yeah, sure, am I? Okay.
खुश होना सबका. I mean, everybody. I feel everybody has a right to be happy, and I'm happy that I made you happy by telling you this. So yeah, you are the bridge, and I'm sure people are going to read what you write and depend on what you have written, the written word, and carry the wisdom which has been passed down to us through our scriptures, our mythology. And long live all the heroes and their different interpretations. Thank you. It was great to have her here, and I'm sure all those who are present, we open the forum now, and if you wish to ask any questions, I'm sure Sunita ji would be happy to answer.
It's really cold, but I still don't mind answering questions. Please do.
To say you that my principal ma'am, in which school I am teaching, but my principal ma'am was not was unknown about you and was unknown about your books also. When I shared the information about you, she was very happy to listen that. So to hear that, she said, yes, one more Gita is there for youth. Yes, I said to her. Then she was very happy to see that someone is working for youth also. And I would love to say that I am also one of them, that I would love to read your Gita also, as I am a Muslim, but I have a Bhagavad Gita in my home also, because I am a broad-minded girl and I want to know about all the religions very closely.
Thank you. And this, when you read Gita, you'll realize it's nothing to do with religion.
Yes, ma'am.
Religion
Yes,
is
ma'am.
not part of Gita at all.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you read it, it's a very practical manual to live life. And not just this Gita, I'm also working on multiple Gitas, where, Gita for entrepreneurs, Gita for children, Gita for teenagers and so on. So there'll be a series of Gitas where I'm interpreting Gita according to the readership. And there's no religion in it.
So good to hear that, ma'am. If आपके जैसे मैं कहूँ कि 2-4 लोग और हो जाए, तो शायद इस समाज से जो ये धर्म की दीवारें हैं ना, वो तो गायब ही हो जाए. So many congratulations. आपको बहुत मुबारकबाद, मैम. Thank you so much.
Shukriya.
Thank you, ma'am. And I have a question for myself.
Finally.
So when I grew up, I didn't have access for these kind of books. Rather, I had access to cartoon channels, where they made a child adaptation of the present day these kind of mythology creatures. For one example, I could name Role Number 21. It is about how Krishna is portrayed as a school student, and how Kamsa is the school principal, and they would have naughty episodes of figuring out themselves. So is there any need to do such adaptations for the next generation youngsters to get to know about these kind of stories and mythologies?
Yes, that's the reason why I'm writing the trilogy that I'm talking about. Very basic example, might sound very silly. It's like, when a child is fond of eating burgers and the parents feel कि इसमें protein नहीं है, तो ये सही खाना नहीं है. What do? They make a protein, टिक्की, और उसमें उसको बन को भी चेंज कर देते हैं, मल्टीग्रेन बन कर देते हैं. वो फिर भी वो बर्गर ही होता है, and the child would eat it. Okay, so that is what I am trying to do. I am giving you the stuff that you are used to, that you like, eating or reading, but I'm going to put in stuff which is good for you. That is what my writing is all about. That is how I introduce things into books, because that is the only way. No, examples तो ये basic examples से लोग समझते हैं. मैं बहुत ही गहरी कुछ philosophical बात करूँगी ना, तो वो हवा में उड़ जाएगी. ये रहेगी. So that is how I feel that it's very important to bring those characters into the daily routine of life, of how you're living. It's very important.
And just one follow-up question. So, does these adaptations make the stories lose their charm and purpose, or is it more about how they are being written?
No, as I mentioned, the storyline is the same. Na? We are not changing the plot. अगर रामायण का एक plot है, we are not changing it. Na? The story will run. Ram will be a guy. Ramayana can be done in a corporate scenario. You can have a company. You can have brothers fighting. You can have a stepmother, and all that, and the property and the business is going, to one son, and then he's sent to, say, Singapore, as exile. I mean, you can actually say the same story in whatever language that you are thinking in. So if you're thinking in a corporate language, you use that language to say the same story. The plot remains the same. उसने जाके लड़ना है, अपनी वाइफ को लेके आना है, and all that. The plot will remain the same, but the language changes, the presentation changes.
May I add, with your permission? So, when you're talking about those adaptations for TV, Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Sunita ji also would not want her adaptations to be treated that way, or her books to be treated that way. Some of them were terrible, but some of them have done a decent job. Yeah? So, yeah, I hope that answers. So, thank you so much. Thank you for braving the cold. I mean, I know it suddenly became so cold. You have a question? Sure.
Ma'am, have you read Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Ma'am, why there is a like Indians have
गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स महाभारत की तरह है.
हम but not like महाभारत में बस दो fields रहते हैं, but Indian have such stories.
stories. We have the stories.
That is when that's why I'm asking that why there isn't any attemptation of like such मतलब big series of books.
करो ना तुम, देखो मैं तो कोशिश
Like
कर रही हूँ.
Devdutt
मैं
Patnaik, I think is the
कोशिश कर
only
रही
one.
हूँ.
Yeah, मैं सुबह से यही हूँ.
मैं पूरी कोशिश कर रही हूँ, तो धीरे धीरे शायद इसमें भी आ जाऊंगी. गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स भी शायद मैं कर डालूं. अभी तो को हैरी पॉटर में मेरा फोकस है, उसको मुझे हटाना है और उसमें अपनी किताबें डालनी है. राइट, अब गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स पे कर दूंगी अगर तब तक कोई किसी ने ना किया हो तो.
और मैम
और बताओ.
Do you think this mythology is that a part of history or it's just mythology or
ये इसका बड़ा सरल आंसर है मेरे हिसाब से, कि जब तक you can see a thing, there is evidence, we call it history. तो जिस चीज़ का हमको एविडेंस मिला नहीं है, जो भरोसे पे चल रही है हमारे फेथ पे, वो मैथोलॉजी में रहता है. जिस दिन उसका मिल जाता है एविडेंस, वो भी हिस्ट्री में खिसक के आ जाता है. सो उसका सिर्फ इतना ही अंतर है. इट्स द सेम थिंग. वो टाइम लाइन थोड़ा शिफ्ट होता रहता है. कुछ एविडेंस निकल गया कहीं से, तो उन्होंने कहा अच्छा पांडव का एविडेंस निकला है, तो पांडव तो अब हिस्ट्री में आ गया. अब उससे पहले का भी निकल आएगा.
Your mindset about AI. You said that AI can't replace author. It's true. It's completely true. But still, ma'am, if you give them instruction, if you give an AI machine a complete instruction, it can write a story. It can write a poem. It can write anything.
Yes, you're right. It can. पर क्या वो तुम्हारे अंदर का जो फीलिंग है वो ला सकता है? I mean, whatever you are feeling, can you also express your feeling easily? It's not easy to even express your own feeling. तो AI कैसे करेगा? We are only using words. We are limited. So what we do is we play with the words to express our feelings. वो भी कई बार नहीं कर पाते, तो 3, 4, 5 सेंटेंस लग जाते हैं, 3, 4, 5 पैराग्राफ्स लग जाते हैं एक चीज़ को समझाने के लिए, बिकॉज वो हमारे अंदर की चीज़ है. AI तो 4 लाइन में ख़त्म कर देगा. वो आपने प्रॉम्प्ट्स दिए, उसके हिसाब से 4 लाइन लिख दी, तो स्टोरी तो आ जाएगी, बट स्टोरी में जान नहीं आती. दैट्स व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से. AI कैन नॉट रिप्लेस अ रियल ऑथर, बिकॉज वो स्टोरी में जान नहीं डाल सकता. दैट्स माई आंसर. बस येस, इट कैन राइट स्टोरीज एंड पोएम्स एंड एवरीथिंग.
But I'm just asking that suppose there are 2 stories and the author's name is not mentioned there. And the story is made by AI, is written by AI, and one by author, and both have the same feelings. Because one can't know who have written this story, right? We can't know that this story is written by this author unless until we don't know his or her name.
Sure.
So, ma'am, I just want to say that the listener of the story or the reader of the story can't understand whether this story is written by an AI or whether by a person or an author.
You're very right, and that is why I'm saying there will be stories written by AI in the market. There will be a market for them also, but a reader or a writer can identify. Like if you give me 2 stories, one by AI, one by a genuine human, then I'll be able to tell you.
Okay.
That is because of my experience. But market में सारे उतने नहीं होते ना. People will buy. So that's what I'm saying. वो धंधा चलेगा. There'll be a whole lot of books in the market, books and comics and stuff done by AI. They'll be priced at a lower price. खूब market होगा उसका. That's a market.
Okay, thank you. Vansh. Thank you.
Thank you, Vansh, and thank you, Prakash, for questions. Do we have any? I hope it's okay. Thank you so much everyone for coming here.